All right, I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, March 26th, Andover City Council meeting. Start off with the roll call to my left.
Brian Schwam, council member.
Caroline Hale, council member.
Troy Tabor, council member.
Ben Lawrence, Mayor.
Clark C.R. Nelson, council member.
Greg Schnutter, council member.
Mike Warrington, council member.
Mike Keller, police chief.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Chad Russell, Fire Chief.
Jennifer McCausland, Assistant City Administrator.
J.T. Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director, Public Works.
Paula Babb, Deputy City Clerk.
Susan Renner, city clerk.
Mark Detter, City Administrator.
Item 3 this evening is the invocation. I see we have Pastor Rick Newbar from First Baptist Church in Augusta. New face.
Yep, been here
Welcome.
before. Yeah.
Welcome.
Let's pray. Well, Father, we love you. We thank you for this evening. We bless you and praise you that we can come together as your people here to celebrate the good things going on in our city, that we can recognize those who have achieved, that we also can come together tonight to share our voices and concerns and participate in our local government. We thank you for those who serve. We pray that you would watch over them, bless them, give us all wisdom and discernment, and have the city of Andover and its people at best interest in all that we say and do this evening. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Item 4 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we stand here, I would like to welcome Girl Scouts from Troop 41106. They're in attendance this evening and have graciously offered to help us lead the pledge. So as they file up here, I'll ask you all to stand with us. Thank you, ladies. Item number 5 this evening is the public forum. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? Once again, this is the public forum. You can come up and speak on anything you want, any agenda item. Yes, ma'am. If you come up to the podium, give your name and address for the record.
My name's Diana McCann. I live at 1006 East Paul Revere Lane, Andover. And I'm in the neighborhood that's getting annexed into into Andover. I'm in the county getting annexed into Andover. I'm here on behalf of my dog and everybody else's dog that's out there. I have a pit bull, and I've read over the new ordinances or the updates that have been made, and there wasn't much that was changed. I do appreciate the fee being lowered to $10 to be the same for everybody and not be the vicious dog ordinance fee because I don't have a vicious dog. I still don't agree with having to muzzle my dog to take her for a walk. We've lived out there for 23 years. We've had our dog for 4 years, and we've never muzzled her to take her for a walk in our neighborhood. I mean, we couldn't go past our neighborhood because then we would have been in the city, but we've walked her in our neighborhood, and we've never put a muzzle on her. We've never had her, her leash is longer than 4 feet because you trip over them if it's that short. So I'm still really opposed to putting a muzzle on my dog. I really feel like that is abusing my dog. She wouldn't know what in the heck was going on. And the fence part, last month I stated the fence part didn't bother me. then I found out how much it was going to cost me to put a fence up. The minimum is going to be $2,000 for me to put a fence up because now I'm in the city and didn't want to be in the city. But I don't have $2,000. What happens if I can't put up a fence? I have a fence. It's 4 foot, and she's been in that fence for 4 years, and she didn't even jump up on it. She's never even tried to get out of the fence. And we do keep the gate locked on that fence, only because we don't want our grandkids going in and out of it and maybe leaving it open. So we do that already. But when I found out how much it was going to cost me to put in a new fence just because I'm being annexed into the city, that floored me. And that's not even having someone else do it. That's having us finding the labor to do it. So I don't like that because I don't have a lot of money. The window thing, we still can't have our windows open. And if my dog's in the house, I don't agree with that. She's been in my house ever since we've had her, and she's never tried to get out a window, a screen, or whatever. That's kind of silly. I don't know what you're going to have. Anyway, that to me is crazy, telling me if I can have my windows open or not. And when we were here last month, Caroline, you had said something about your sister worked with pit bulls and all of that, and she had made a statement to you that she almost everybody who gets bit by a pit bull ends up at the hospital.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, okay. But anyway, I was attacked by a German Shepherd. And several years ago, not in Andover, it was on the west side, and I was on the ground. I was rolled around by that dog. I was sliced up by that dog. I was bruised by that dog. I went to the hospital. I had to get stitches. But I don't hate German Shepherds. You know, it wasn't my fault. I don't hate German Shepherds because of that. Also last month it was stated that I don't remember the exact number of bites that were in Andover last year in 2018. I think it was 18, but I'm not quite sure on the exact number. But what kind of dogs were those that bit people in Andover? I would really like to know what breeds they were, because I guarantee you they're still allowed in Andover. That doesn't mean all of those dogs are vicious, those breed dogs. So I just do not agree with all the stipulations that you're putting on us and the money that you're making us spend because we're getting annexed into the city when we don't want to be into the city. And I know there's a few people out there that do want to be in the city. I'm not speaking for every 67 houses that are out there, but I bet I'm speaking for 90% of us that are out there. And I just don't think it's right for us to have to put forth that much expense and that much, you know, you guys have given me PTSD, I'm telling you. I am an emotional mess because of this. You're messing with my family. Not only my dog, but my finances, my house, all of it. And I was in the county for a reason. So that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know how many people more are going to talk on this topic, but it's on the agenda later, and we have 12 young men who have lives that they're being here to recognize. We're here to honor them, and if we want to have this discussion at the time, but I don't think it's fair to the rest of the people who have come here to watch someone be recognized to have to listen to another half hour of this discussion during public forum. So I would just suggest that we talk about it when the item comes up.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a public forum. If there are several of you, we can continue this on the line item if you'd like to stick around. We can. But is there anyone that has a
Oh,
public
yeah,
forum
I agree.
item that is not related to pit bulls? Let's ask that question. Okay. I promise we will open up another little session prior to the agenda item on the pit bull revised ordinance. And we'll close this public forum and move on to item 6, which is the acceptance of the agenda. I believe we made some changes today, but they're all rectified and in there. Is that correct? Nothing additional this evening?
But those are in the agenda.
They're in.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to accept the agenda as prepared. I realize we have an issue with regard to the recognition of the basketball team, but I think we can handle that separately. So I would move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, motion by CR, second by Greg to accept the agenda. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now, item 7, to the aforementioned recognition. With us this evening are the very proud members of the 5A State Boys Champions, from Andover Central High School, Jaguars. Congratulations. That's quite an achievement. Doesn't happen very often. Can I get you guys to come up here by the podium for a second? Coach Herman, if you'd be so kind as to introduce your players to the group.
We're going to take you on 5-on-5.
Well, I'd like to thank the City Council for having us here. We really appreciate it. You know, we represent Andover Central, which is a school, and Andover, which is our city, and we're proud to do that. And we were happy, obviously, with how this season turned out, but these guys are deserving of all this, and we thank you much for having us here and doing this. I'm going to have to turn so I can see here. Okay, we'll start down there. That's my freshman coach right there is Chad Gerwick. Next to him is Brigden Stupka, he's a junior. Then Ty Herman is a junior. Jerome Washington is a junior. Matt Sears is a sophomore. Trey DeGarmo is a junior. Caden Wilson is a junior. We've got some seniors here. These next 4 guys are our seniors. Max Worth is a senior. Peyton Jensen, Braden Belt, and Easton Leadham. Those are our 4 seniors. And then these last 2 guys are Shamari Parnell, he's a junior, and Xavier Bell, he's a junior. So it was quite an accomplishment. It was a tough 5A, and we appreciate this.
Not a problem.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we recognize the 5A state champions, Andover Central High School boys basketball team, and further recognize the players and bringing pride to the entire Andover community, and further recognize the coaching staff and their great leadership, and also like to recognize Andover resident head coach Jesse Herman for being named 5A Coach of the Year and being an outstanding example for his players and all the students in Andover Central.
Second that motion.
All right. That's a heck of a motion, Mr. Moore.
Can you repeat that, Ben?
But no, that's a well-deserving honor, and you guys earned it. So, unless there's any further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Coach. Take a brief pause here.
Why don't we stick around for the pit bull issue?
All right, still continuing on item 7, I believe we have a request from Troop 41106.
Good evening. I'm Carolyn Matthews. I am the troop leader for 41106, but I'm also the service unit manager for Girl Scout Service Unit 92, which is made up of the Girl Scout troops in the Andover, Circle, and Rose Hill school districts. For the last 3 years, we've had our Return to Camp Seekawak camp out here in Andover Central Park in honor of it being the former Girl Scout Camp Seekawak. This year, we would like to have our camp out from Saturday, May 4th to Sunday, May 5th. We're asking the council's permission to camp overnight near the conference cabin and also to waive the rental fee on that conference cabin.
No conflicts in scheduling?
I don't see Susan, but I've talked with her.
You did, okay.
Yes. We've
Did she
submitted the
Did she
application.
pencil your name in there?
Yes.
Okay, and you did fill out an application?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the waiver of fee for the use of the conference cabin and allow Girl Scout Service Unit number 92 to camp in the Central Park for the dates and times as requested.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by Brian to approve the use as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Chief Russell, you'll coordinate the activities?
It's our pleasure.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 8, which is the consent agenda. That's items 8.1 through 8.5. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items 9.1 through 9.5 as presented.
Second it.
Motion by Greg, second by Mike to approve the consent agenda as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9 is the aforementioned pit bulls amended ordinance. I guess I'll ask at this time, Chief, you wanted to say something? Or? Okay.
It's up to you.
Would you like to describe the specific changes to this amended ordinance first?
Basically, if you recall, we met 2 meetings ago and you asked us to work on and massage the restrictions on pit bulls that would be annexed into the city. City Attorney J.P. Krause and myself got together, worked on these, and kind of reached some compromises, I believe. One of them, first of all, the annual registration had been $50. We reduced that down to the normal, what any dog in the city
Is your mic on?
It is now. I'm sorry. It is what it always for any dog. It's the normal $10 for a dog that is not spayed or neutered, and I'm sorry, that is spayed or neutered, and 15 for one that's not. The secure enclosure was brought up and discussed at the last meeting. It's been written now where a 6-foot fence, doesn't have to be a privacy fence, but a 6-foot fence that would, and a locked fence that would prevent the animal from escaping either over or under would suffice for a secure enclosure now. The comment about open windows was removed, and it now says that basically you can't have, you can't keep the animal inside of a home that it could escape via its own volition. You can have your windows open. You just can't have them like all the way open where the dog could get out all by himself. That's the intent of this. The fourth one, anytime the animal is outside of a secure enclosure, and the secure enclosure could mean the fence, could mean a kennel, could mean the home, could be an automobile. If it's inside of an automobile where it cannot escape, outside of that, it's required to be on a leash and muzzled. The signage, the last ordinance required the signage to state warning dangerous dog on premises. We've added the ability to change that to beware of dog. And then the last one is the insurance requirements, and that stayed the same. There are still insurance requirements that are required to have on the animal per incident.
I know there's some more people that want to speak on this issue. Could I just get a poll, raise the hands if you wanted to speak? Okay, let's, I guess whoever wants to jump up there, if you come up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and we'll hear your comments.
My name is Jamie Perkins. My grandparent, I live at 18090 Southwest Prairie Creek Road, Rose Hill, Kansas. This matter is important to me because I have a pit bull. My family has been in Andover for 47 years. There was nothing here. And now I find out that I cannot bring my dog onto my property because of some fear based on a breed. I've worked with pit bulls for 20 years. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. All I'm asking is to judge the dog, not the dog. I'm sorry, I'm just so upset about this. Judge the
Breed.
not the breed, the deed.
owner?
The deed.
The deed.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, okay.
You mean the individual?
I know, yeah, don't base all this on a breed. Do it on the deed.
So you're against breed-specific legislation?
I am.
Okay.
Now, I've seen German Shepherds bite. I take my dog, not the pit bull, but my terrier, to the dog park. I can't tell you how many dog fights I've seen from non-registered dog or non-breed specific dogs. And I understand that people are afraid of pit bulls because of the damage they can do. But I'm asking you guys to judge it on the action of the dog and the owners, and not the breed itself. Thank you.
Anyone else? Would anyone else like to speak?
My name is Kyle Nelson. I live in the proposed annex area, and I've got a question. Do you guys have any numbers or statistics about any of the pit bulls living in this area actually attacking people or animals? Is that a problem? Do you have any statistics? Are you aware of instances of that happening?
Statistics from your neighborhood?
From the annexed area where this is going to take effect. So there's
Not
not
to
really,
my knowledge.
there
We
hasn't-
don't
so
we
there
don't
hasn't
we
been a
don't police
problem?
that neighborhood. The county sheriff's department does.
Yeah, but when you call 911, it still goes to Andover here, right? So
You know,
would
we
be aware
we
of
do
those
respond
situations.
in case of emergencies because we're the closest available agency, even though we're not required to. But I think that the sheriff's department would probably have those statistics.
So you guys don't have any numbers or statistics, or even, can you recall any instances where you've been called out for these problem animals?
We have in Andover.
Where they're banned?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple years ago, we had an attack. They ended up at the hospital with 20-some stitches. That's kind of what brought this about a couple years ago when we first started talking about it.
That was
what
a
about-
dog that lived in a pit bull that lived in the county that got loose and ran into the city limits.
Which is very specifically what you're talking about. So yes, we do have numbers, but
And do you have instances of non-pit bulls biting people?
we do.
Absolutely.
Actually, same year, I believe there was 20. By the way, I'm not saying I'm for or against, but just to answer your question,
Yeah.
there was. I think Chief would be better at just throwing the numbers
In,
out for
in the year you're
2017.
talking about was 2017, and we had, I believe it was 14 dog bites that year. Of the 14 dog bites, 13 of them were committed by dogs that were other than pit bulls. Keep in mind, we had a pit bull ban then, so we shouldn't have had any. But we had 13 dog bites by dogs other than pit bulls. The total injury of all 13 bites required 1 stitch, most of them Band-Aids or ointment. The medical treatment on the 1 pit bull bite required hospitalization, surgery, 22 stitches, and I believe a couple weeks off work.
There you go.
Okay, thank you for that information. My next question is, how are you going to classify a pit bull?
It's contained within the ordinance.
And
Have you read it?
I saw people have a printout, I guess, of the ordinance. They said they maybe got that in an email. I didn't actually get that, but is it the same as what you have on your website? American Staffordshire Terrier, American Pit Bull Terrier, Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Is that correct?
That sounds right. We didn't change that portion of the ordinance.
Okay. And it's a visual inspection, 5 out of the 8 characteristics. Is that correct? That didn't
correct.
change either. Okay, who's actually looking at these dogs and making that determination if they come into any of those 5? Is that the police officer? Is that a vet? Who is that? Who's making that determination?
That's the training that the officers have received, and then the officers make that determination. It's ultimately determined by a judge.
So the judge is, let me just read some of these characteristics. One second. My concern is they are very broad, and they would, many dogs could fit in this classification. So eyes are round, almond shape, and are low in the skull. So how do you tell if it's low in the skull compared to what? Another one is tail is medium length and set low. These are very broad things. So how are you gonna make sure that mixed breeds, non-pit bull breeds, are not going to get caught up in this?
These are the characteristics that are common to the pit bulls. These are the same characteristics that's used by the Wichita Police Department in their determinations. They're same ordinance, and ultimately, you asked about mixed breeds. The ordinance specifically covers that it cannot have any part pit bull in it, not just full blood, but any part at all.
Right, and how do you determine if it has part of one of these?
It's based off of the characteristics that are in the ordinance.
Characteristics. And also, the 3 types listed, one of them is not even recognized by the American Kennel Club. So how are you going to say that it has these characteristics when it's not even recognized? I mean, that's impossible. That's impossible. And then you take into account just the broad eyes are round, almond shape, or low in the skull. Well, most dogs
It's
have.
a very tough task.
Yeah.
And I think what's written in our ordinance has been generally accepted. Are there going to be an exception? Yeah. But
So you're saying that there's a chance that breeds that are not pit bulls are going to be caught up in this. We're going to have to possibly have those people pay more insurance and have higher fences and all those things when they're not even actually pit bulls. And I just want to say that there's a study by the University of Florida that looked to see if visual identification was an accurate way to tell if a dog is a, quote, pit bull. And the results were that half of the dogs labeled to be a pit bull were proven not to be.
and if that is the case, nothing will happen. There will be no restrictions on the dog. The dog will be released, but that's up to the court.
That's actually, we've had a case where, or cases where the judge has offered that, where if they wanted to submit to a DNA test.
So the one of your breeds on here cannot be identified by DNA test, the American Pit Bull. So I'm just concerned that there's going to be I mean, this says half are not accurately identified by visual examination, and one of your breeds cannot be identified by DNA testing. So, and your criteria, eyes are round and low in the skull, compared to what? Tail is medium length and set low. These are very broad things. So I'm just concerned that there's going to be many innocent dogs and families getting caught up in this.
To our knowledge, there's no pit bulls in the city limits of Andover anyway. This revised ordinance is an attempt to create a concession to the people that lived in an annexed area, soon to be annexed area, to allow them basically a grandfather clause.
And I'm very grateful for that.
But there's
I
no
don't
requirement.
think-
There's no requirement for this governing body to even offer that.
Like I said, I'm very grateful for that. But I don't think putting these financial and material expectations above and beyond is good for anybody. I've got well, I'll just say that I'm an owner of a mixed breed dog that could be considered a pit bull, depending on your broad definitions here. She's grown up in the neighborhood her entire life. She's never bitten any person or animal. She doesn't escape the yard or attempt to. She doesn't bark excessively. She's a very friendly family dog. I've got 3 kids that she gets along with great. I've got 3 chickens that have grown up with her since they were little baby chickens, and they roam in the backyard together, no problems. She's a very sweet dog, and all of my neighbors have complimented me on her good behavior and friendly nature, and I can bring signed statements they are not bothered by this dog. I also have a signed document by her vet here in Andover that she is not aggressive that I can present to you guys if you would
You have
like.
a signed document by your vet that
Yes.
stipulates that this dog is not a pit bull?
Is not aggressive. She's
I know, I heard that part. But is it a pit bull or is it not?
well, it would depend on who is evaluating her, probably based on your very broad 5 out of 8.
So we heard that there was
it's
another
poss-
dog
it's
in this
poss-
neighborhood, and now we obviously know it's you.
A what?
We heard there was another pit bull in this neighborhood, and then we obviously know it's you now. But, you know, like I said, we got 2 ways to go. We're not considering removing the pit bull ban here. What we're considering is amending our ordinance to allow the people that are soon to be community members of the city of Andover to keep their pit bulls until such time they pass. So the question
and I
is,
think we should be able to, but I don't think we should have to pay more insurance, refit all of our fence. I mean, there hasn't been a problem. Why don't you look at these dogs individually and see if they are potentially aggressive, and if they're not, then you don't need to punish everybody for the
so
mistake.
you're
or
against
whatever of a few.
breed-specific legislation as well. Why didn't you just say that?
Say that again. What?
So you're against breed-specific?
Oh yeah, and I know many people that live in
Okay,
Andover are too.
That's all you had to say.
I'll say it. I'm saying other
Okay.
stuff too, but yeah, I'm definitely
I'm
against
going
it.
to ask you to wrap up your comments.
Okay, I just want to say the CDC and American Veterinary Medical Association have come out against breed-specific ordinances because they are ineffective and ultimately hurt the breed and owners. They state studies that show specific breeds cannot be shown to be more likely to bite or kill, and thus there is no scientifically valid reason to support breed-specific legislation. They do give 5 things that contribute to a dog being more likely to bite, and one of those is early life socialization and training and later life socialization and training. Under Section E, a dog in the city limits will be required to be muzzled and on a leash, be in a pen with completely fenced in, 6 foot high, and cannot be in a house that has its windows all the way open. What these conditions do is actually isolate the dog more and prevent socialization, and would actually lead to a higher chance of the dog becoming more likely to bite later in life. All dogs are individuals and should be treated as such. If you are really concerned with the few pit bulls in the area, they should be looked at on an individual basis. If they don't have a history of biting or escaping, then imposing these rules is not only fiscally demanding, it is hurting the family dynamics of the people who have these dogs. It hurts the dogs and will end up making the dog have a higher chance of developing a temperament problem.
Almost all of the pit bull attacks you read about in the newspaper are from dogs that have zero history of aggression or violence.
Do you have some statistics on that? Some evidence to what
Read
you're
the
saying?
paper.
Read the paper.
There
That's
was
good
one
evidence.
2 days ago in Texas. Chief, do you want to talk about that one just real quick?
There's no point. They
Yeah.
happen all the time, all over the place, and you see them on TV or you read the story like, oh, this dog was the sweetest, cutest little dog, had no history of violence, and then all just snapped. I mean,
So do you think a pit bull is more likely to do that than another breed of dog? To
That
just
I can't
snap?
say, but to have a pit bull
Because
attack.
I have evidence that shows that that's not true, and that's a misconception about pit bulls. And I can present that to you guys if you'd like as well.
Sir, I guess I've listened to this conversation at least a dozen times and haven't said a word. Are you not saying that pit bulls are responsible for 2/3 of the fatal dog attacks in America every year?
I'm saying that the CDC and American
CDC said they're the most responsible too. Now, I understand the study you're talking about, but they did say pit bulls have the highest rate of fatal attacks, not bites. We keep talking about bites. I'm talking about human beings have been killed by these things, and they're responsible for 2/3. There's 6% of the breeds. And you guys want to argue about that they've been misrepresented. I just don't think you could be wrong that much that the dog is misrepresented when it's fatally attacks somebody. So, you know, I'm fine listening to what dog's more likely to attack, but the pit bull is more lethal than any other breed, and that's what their decision is based on.
I've been researching this, and
I'll give you one more minute to finish your comments.
and that data is not necessarily accurate because the person taking the statement, I have it here somewhere. Taking the statement such as a doctor, they're getting that the person said this was a pit bull. The dog actually never comes in. So the bottom line is you can't just make a blanket statement that pit bulls are more likely to attack because
Likely to attack, I said more responsible for fatal attacks in America than any other breed, and significantly more. It would be like if we authorized a firework that killed 2/3 of the people, and we just said, oh, we're going to keep having that firework. Who died of firework attacks? That's what we're talking about. The rest of this and the likelihood, a German Shepherd just doesn't kill as many people as a pit bull does yearly in America, and that's been true for 30 years. The CDC said the same thing. Any other organization you look at has said it. Now, I'm not saying whether the council should legalize this or not, but we can't deny that the pit bull is more likely to kill people than any other breed.
and I would say that's a result of people and not the breed. It's a
Massive
result
misidentification of the dog that attacked people over a 30-year period. That's what you're saying has happened.
Well,
and
that's
that
part
the
of it.
CDC said they were pit bulls. So
Okay,
you're,
but that's part of it. The other part of it is it's the people that raise the pit bulls to fight to be guard dogs.
I agree.
They don't raise them correctly. So what we need to do is we need to look at the individual basis
Right.
of the pit
Right.
bulls that live in
But-
this area.
But
and
can you guarantee every person who comes in this community is going to treat that dog correctly? Because at the end of the day, if a 4-year-old kid gets killed in Andover, these people are going to have to sit here and be
got
accountable
a
for
5, a 7, and a 9-year-old that live with this dog. The dog-
I understand,
the dog
sir,
understands.
but you're one owner. You can't guarantee the safety of every pit bull that comes into town. And they're going to have to be accountable for that. And that's what I think nobody in here considers when we're having this
Okay.
discussion.
I think I've heard enough. You can sit down, please.
Kyle. So I know you probably have a lot more to say, and you were a little rushed up here. You don't have to go back to the, but certainly you have a lot of research and stats and so do a lot of people. This is a compressed time, and it's a lot easier probably to type up your thoughts and what your research shows. It would be nice to show the whole picture and not just a very slanted bias side, but you can do whatever you want. But if you send it to the council, we read it. So while you might not have had the ability to say everything you wanted up there and anyone else, you do have the ability to tell us. So I would recommend probably typing up what you want and send it to us.
Anyone else like to speak? Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Danielle Dawes, and I'm currently a resident of Andover. And about 60 days ago, I sent the council my opinion on this situation. I received one response from Mr. Lawrence. Who are you representing? Are you representing me, or are you letting him talk for you? I'd like to know. I talked to Mr. Tabor about this, and he apologized. Everybody else, you got an opinion, or are you going to let Ben talk for you?
That's what mayors do.
Okay, that's what representatives do. They respond. Thank you for your comments. We'll take this under consideration. Nothing. You guys are talking about basically protecting the citizens. These guys have to account for their responsibility of, if something should happen, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. I'd like to know, on a bruise fest, how are you protecting your residents from drunk drivers?
That guy right there.
Okay. It's just as likely to get killed or hit or whatever by a drunk driver when you have an event at the park. It's going to happen. Why are you protecting one item and not the other?
So prohibition then?
No, I don't care.
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
I don't care if you drink or not. I'm just saying, how can you pick and choose how you protect your citizens?
We have to do the best we can. We have to make judgments. And the issue tonight is the restrictions on pit bull for new
For the
annex
annex.
property.
Correct. But I wanted to come up and just say that he's sitting here saying, you guys are sitting here saying, contact your council members. That did nothing. Nothing.
Well, maybe it didn't go in your way, but we certainly read it.
But you didn't respond even.
I'm sorry if we get 800 emails and we miss one. I do apologize like I did.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you missed it.
Okay.
I might respond to that a little bit myself, and that is that when we have hot button topics such as this one, it's important that we don't misspeak in public.
Exactly.
And we all have our opinions, maybe right or wrong, but it's important that we have a proper voice when...
But I don't even know if you have a voice. No acknowledgement. No thank you for your email. I mean, how hard is that to do?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about there, but did you write an email or something?
Yes, to every one of you. Every one of you. And
Nice
Mr.
work.
Lawrence was the only one that responded.
Well, for me, I know I read it, so I apologize for not responding.
Thank you. And Mr. Tabor said the same thing, But I just feel like you guys are supposed to represent us. This was my opinion, and I got shut down. Thank you.
I did read it as well. I did not respond. I read all the emails, so, I'm in that respect, but I agree with the comment that sometimes on issues like this, we're just listening to the people and we're not responding. I also get the emails from the people who are very much afraid that we'll lift the ban, and I don't respond to them either, just so that you know, I'm just reading everything. So I'm aware of it.
Anyone else like to speak? I'll ask one more time. Yes. Nice to see you again. Go on. Please restate your name and...
Yeah, my name's Megan Bartlett, not Bartlett. And I live at 530 South Highland Drive.
Did we spell your name wrong in the minutes?
Yeah, I've
Spell it for me again.
Barlett.
You got that?
Thanks.
Okay. Well, it'll be right this time.
Okay. Let's see, I forgot what I was gonna ask. So in 2017, when you guys had that pit bull, I think he bit a man, right, and he had to have over 20 stitches. And he did have to have surgery as well, because that's been a little inconsistent. One time I heard that he just had to have stitches, another time I heard he had to have stitches and surgery. And why the surgery?
I don't recall.
You don't know?
It was, my understanding was surgery, and the stitches went with the surgery. It was due to his injuries.
He didn't have to go under anesthesia, if I'm saying that right.
I wasn't
I don't think
there.
we can even talk about that.
Yeah.
That's
due to
getting in the
HIPAA,
weeds.
So
That's
that's
getting
kind
in
of
the
an
weeds a
interesting.
little bit, but what's your question? That was the question?
Has there been other incidents of pit bull attacks other than that one and the one 20 years ago that started the
Well,
ban?
no, that's about when the ban was
How-
instituted.
Sorry.
It's not quite 20 years ago, but it was 2001 or 2002. It's been in effect for 18 years.
Was the ban put into place immediately after that?
Pretty close.
And what happened exactly with the first incident?
A woman was in what was then the 7-Eleven parking lot at the corner of Central and Andover Road. A stray pit bull, putting gas in her car, a stray pit bull came by and attacked her for, apparently, according to the witnesses, no unknown reason, latched onto her leg. They were eventually able to get the pit bull released. I don't recall what happened to the dog, but the lady, who I know, she's still alive, she's had a big, massive chunk taken out of her calf, still visibly scarred to this day.
Okay. And did she have to have surgery or just stitches?
Oh, yeah, she had surgery.
Surgery to?
Reconstruct her leg.
Okay. Okay. No, like broken bones, right?
That I don't remember.
Okay. And can we get any evidence on both of those incidents, like any police report or any kind of report?
I'm sure there's a police report on both of them. I don't know. You're going back a long time.
And does somebody have to pay an amount to
Sure.
have access to
You
that?
want, you can fill out a request for public records at the Andover Police Department. They'll do their best to find their cases, but yeah, there's a charge.
Do you know about around how much?
It's $10 per report.
Okay. And I want to go back to 2017. Did Kristen, what did she pay for the dog bite report by breed? Do you
Who's
guys
Kristen?
remember? Kristen Gallen. She has red hair, and she normally comes up here with me.
I don't know.
Okay, I tried asking her, and I didn't get a response from her, but I thought, it's not over 1,000, is it?
Oh no.
To get a report like that?
It's
No.
$10.
It's $10?
I think that's what he
$1,000.
just said.
Okay, I'll have to watch the video, but I know that sounds crazy, but I thought that's what she said. Anyway,
You're saying video. If it was some type of video, there's additional fee for videos. I believe they're $25 for any photographs or videos. Police reports are $10, written reports.
okay, that's awesome to know. But actually what I'm talking about was that she got the dog bite report by breed for the year of 2017. So that's what I'm talking about. And then she also talked about that with you guys at a city council meeting. And that's when you brought up that the one pit bull bite was, the worst that year.
Is there a question or statement in here?
Yeah, do you guys have a report of all of that for each year, and can that be posted for the public on your website instead?
Of dog bites?
Yes, by breed.
I'm sure we can look that up, but
Okay.
I mean, what's the point?
What's the point? Well, because we want to make sure that the ban is, I guess, effective, that it's working.
I think we've already conceded the point that pit bull bites in Andover are minimal. Okay, we have very few pit bull bites as compared to other breeds. That's for two reasons. We have a pit bull ban that's been in place for 18 years, but what we're saying is, like our city administrator so violently elocuted to us, is that when a pit bull attacks, as compared to other dogs, it causes more damage. And that's where we're basing our theory on here.
Well, I don't have my sources, with me that I can't give to you guys. Maybe I can email it to you later. But National Geographic, and I'm not sure which year they did this test, but they actually tested the German Shepherd, the Rottweiler, and the Pit Bull, for how hard they can bite. The German Shepherd came in first place, and the Pit Bull came in last. And then, and there's another issue I wanted to bring up. I think I hear a lot that people have accidentally moved to Andover with their pit bulls, not knowing that there's a pit bull ban. They didn't look it up before moving here. And then they move back to Wichita or to another city that doesn't have a ban on their breed. I had a friend too bring up to me, and she did this as well. First of all, she didn't really know what pit bulls look like or what they were. And she experiences herself, and so do other people, but they will adopt a puppy from Kansas Humane Society and not know that it's a pit bull or a pit bull mix because they can't tell because the puppy is a puppy, right? And I think anymore, Kansas Humane Society doesn't identify these dogs by breeds. So I just wanted to bring that up. And of course, obviously, I oppose the ban, and I also do not agree with the restrictions. I do appreciate that you guys made some changes, though, and I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you all listening to us. And I think that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you so much.
Anyone else like to speak? I'll give you 1 minute.
Okay, say you the muzzle. Who approves that muzzle? Is there a specific muzzle that we have to buy
Our
for our
police
dogs?
department is charged with enforcing that ordinances
Okay.
and all the provisions within it.
Okay, so like if I'm traveling through town with my pit bull, am I gonna get harassed?
If it's in your car, no.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Mhm. Anybody else? All right. We will move on with our discussion up here at the bench with item number 9. Obviously, we've changed a few provisions in this ordinance to try and create exceptions for newly annexed areas to allow people to keep their dogs, their pit bulls. Council, I guess, we've talked about it ad nauseum. What do you want to do here? You wanted some of this language softened. It's been softened. It's up to you guys. What do you want to do?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Go on.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending ordinance number 1662 of the City of Andover, Kansas, repealing and amending Chapter 2, Article 3, Section 2-311 of the Code of the City of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Motion by Greg, second by Brian, to approve the amended ordinance as presented. Further discussion.
Just one question. To make it clear, if we vote this down, anyone with a pit bull would have to get rid of their pit bull that's being annexed, correct?
Upon annexation, yes.
That's it.
Or if I veto it, same thing.
Oh my God.
Mr. Mayor,
I didn't say I was going.
don't start that.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a couple comments.
Hang on. It's your, I believe Caroline had the floor. I'll come back to you.
I would just like to say that I appreciate the changes that were made. I think that even went a little further than what I had asked you to look into, so I appreciate that. And I'm sorry, but as of the last meeting, everything that I talked about that I requested changes for, we were told at that time that that was very agreeable to the people. So I understand that the expense of a fence is a bigger item, and what you thought was agreeable once you heard the price, may not be as pleasant now. But I feel like that we have really tried to give a concession to folks who are being annexed in, that already have this family member that is near and dear to them. But I also want to say that we continually hear from other citizens that do not want us to allow pit bulls in the community. So I know we're only hearing now from those of you that believe that this is unfair to pit bulls, but you're not hearing from the citizens that thank us for having this ban and for not, and ask us to not undo the ban. So there are two sides to the story. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I appreciate the efforts that Attorney and Police Chief made in trying to soften this a little for those people who are being annexed in and grandfathering and them the ability to keep their dogs.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Hang on, I'll come back to you in a minute. CR, you had some comments you wanted to make?
Yeah, very similar to Caroline. We had a pretty healthy hearing last month, and it was obvious that we attempted to make concessions to the extent that it was fair and reasonable. It now sounds like it's nothing but another moving target, that now that we've conceded on some issues, that's never good enough. And your argument's fair, but the conclusions are erroneous in my opinion. And as Caroline had said, for every case, like Kyle, is that the right name? By the way, you did a very nice job of concisely and intelligently going through your statistics. There are so many stats out there, it's unbelievable. I have read, I can't tell you how many cases throughout the country on these issues, whether or not breed specific is constitutional, whether it shouldn't be, and there are cases both ways. But I want you to know that for every case that you have that your dog is great, and I'll tell you, all of us are dog lovers up here. This is the last thing we really want to have happen. But for every one that you have, there's at least 2 cases on the other side. And it goes on and on and on. And I know that the police chief has exhaustively reviewed this. And we get all these studies from Florida and Minnesota and wherever else. But it comes down to the degree of fatal injuries that have occurred. And I think we would be negligent if we didn't take some action of some type. We may review it again. There may be a reason why they're more dangerous. And maybe we could fix that and carry on down the road. But I certainly wanted you to know that that's the case, and for those reasons, number one, we want to try to accommodate the new families that are going to be annexed in here, and we'll probably look at this again before too long and see if there's anything else that can be done. But I think this is for the best interest of the city at large. Thank you.
Mr. Warrington.
Yes, well, I just wanted to echo what was Caroline and CR were saying. But, you know, one thing that we have to, think about is the safety of our city. And if these issues are coming up this way, we have to go in and vote on legitimately the safety. And with looking at all the studies and all the stats and the multiple emails that we get from y'all, and we do read them. And but I think I probably have gotten more emails from people who want the ban to stay in than I have than anyone else. But ultimately, we have to look at the safety of our citizens, people walking down the road, who don't know if you have a pit bull who's loose in your yard or not. So, and I think we had a very good, healthy discussion last month as well, and we took the recommendations that most of y'all gave us about fencing, and some of the people who had a fence said, that's great, or I can put up a fence. And so, but then tonight we've heard, some different items on it. So I just want to let you know that obviously it's a hard decision, but ultimately we have to protect our citizens.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Does anyone else want to provide any comments? All right, the motion was by Greg, the second was by Brian to approve the submitted ordinance. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10.
Mr. Mayor, we have items for the new Meadowlark Elementary School infrastructure that'll serve it, items 10.1 through 10. Wow, we go way down here, no, 8, 10.8. So you have the final plats, developers agreement, a water line petition, a water line petition for internal improvements, a sanitary sewer petition, and a sidewalk paving and left turn lane improvements on 13th Street. And then, of course, you have the authorizing resolution and the work ordinance. What's your pleasure is, I think we've approved these through one motion. I don't know what the city attorney prefers, but
I have basically one question. And that would be the improvements to add the left turn lane on 13th Street. Are there petitions received that are sufficient to pay 100% of that?
yes, I need to look at that, but I'm pretty sure that's a 100% petition.
So the city of Andover's contribution to the project was extending the sewer, is that correct?
And we're 50-50 on the water line on 159.
Right. Okay, but the internal improvements and the external improvements on 13th Street are being borne by the school district, is that right?
Is Mr. Myers still here? I just want to make sure he's confirming the same thing I'm thinking, but I think the mayor is correct, but I would, if this is our consultant with Boffman, has been involved in the project.
Good evening, Phil Meyer with Pavement Company. I was looking through my stuff. Can you please repeat that question?
There's a resolution determining certain internal improvements, part of which includes adding a left turn lane on 13th Street, is that correct?
That is
Okay.
correct.
Is that external, what I would call an external improvement by the school district? Is that being paid for by the school district? Let's put it simply.
I'm double checking that. I can tell you we put these together and followed
Yes.
the
That's
agreement between the two, and yes, the
okay.
paving petition's 100% on the
And our
district.
responsibility that we agreed to was 100% of the sewer and 50% of the water line.
Right.
That's the agreement.
Right.
Okay, that's the only question I
No,
really
I'm sorry, I just wanted to,
That's right.
be.
The petition you have before you for sanitary sewer is for an internal sanitary sewer line.
Okay.
Winding up paying 100%, it probably wasn't necessary, but it was a kind of an add-on to the larger sewer line that's gonna come across the KTA and.
Well, I mean, we made this agreement with the school,
Yeah,
trying
right.
to be good community partners here. I just want to make sure that they're living up to their end and we're living up to ours. So what would you like to start with, Mr. Klaus? Just go down the line? Accept the plat first?
You could please do them in order, and if you don't mind doing them individually. The only two that have to be individual, in my opinion, are the plat and the ordinance at the end. But if you want to do them individually,
If we did them individually?
it would be better, yes.
Okay.
I think I'll start reading then. Can I make those motions? All right. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the USD 385 Meadowlark Addition final plat.
Second.
By Troy, second by Caroline, to accept the plat as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the developer's agreement between the City of Andover and USD 385 for the development of infrastructure to serve the new Meadowlark Elementary School located at 159th and 13th Street, and authorize the mayor to sign such agreement.
Motion by Troy, second by Brian, to approve the developer's agreement as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve petitions from USD 385 for water system improvements on 159th and 13th Street as presented.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline, to approve the Waterline A petitions as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And also for Waterline B, I'd like to make a motion to approve the petition from USD 385 for waterline improvements associated with construction of the new Meadowlark Elementary School.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Troy and a second by Greg to approve the Waterline B petition as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
For 10.5 sanitary sewer petition, I'll make a motion to approve the petitions from USD 385 for the purpose of sanitary sewer improvements serving the new Meadowlark Elementary School.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Mike, to approve the sanitary sewer petitions as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Also like to make a motion for the left turn lane. Make the motion to approve the petition from US 385 for the left turn lane on 13th Street serving the new Meadowlark Elementary School.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Greg, to approve the left turn driveway and sidewalk improvement paving petitions as presented. Further discussion?
I'm not reading that whole thing.
Do you want me to take that one?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 10.7 is the resolution.
I'd like to make a motion to approve. Okay.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion for the resolution determining the advisability of making certain internal improvements in the city of Andover, Kansas, setting forth the general nature of the improvements, the estimated or probable cost thereof, the extent of the benefit district to be assessed for the cost thereof, the method of assessment, and the apportionment of the cost between the benefit district and the city at large. Authorizing and providing for the making of the improvements in accordance with the findings of the governing body, and directing the publication and recording the resolution USD 385 Waterline A improvements, USD 385 Waterline B improvements, USD 385 sanitary sewer improvements, and USD 385 paving improvements. Approve the resolution of advisability authorizing water, sewer, and paving improvements associated with Meadowlark Elementary School as read in that novel. Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Mike, to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. See, I just say the resolution presented. I don't know why you read all that.
I thought you told me to read. All right. So the final the final ordinance, or the authorization of the ordinance, an ordinance authorizing the construction of certain internal improvements in the city of Andover, Kansas, is heretofore determined advisable and authorized to be made by resolution number 19 of the city under the authority of KSA 12-6A01 at sequence. I don't know what that means, but as amended and supplemented. Providing for the payment of the costs of said improvements, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for the payment of the costs of said improvements, and authorizing and providing for the issuance of temporary improvement notes from time to time as funds are needed for the orderly construction of said improvements. So I'd make a motion to approve work ordinance authorizing construction of water lines, sanitary sewer, and paving improvements associated with new Meadowlark Elementary School, and further authorizing issuance of general obligation temporary notes and bonds.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline, to approve the ordinance as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll be at the library tomorrow reading books for everybody that would like to come to the library. Story time.
I was going to say thank you with a special thank you to Troy.
Item number 11, 159th Street Sewer Interceptor Project.
The USD 385 Meadowlark Addition requires an extension of a sanitary sewer that essentially begins at the Teradyne office and extends up to 13th Street, and then for a short distance east along 13th Street. This line, because of the topography of the area, reaches as much as 25 feet deep. We think it is prudent to do more geotechnical exploration than we would normally do on a project because of the depth of this sewer, the propensity for rock in the area, and groundwater. We think that the $3,970 is money well spent, that when we share that information with the contractors who bid the project, it will be repaid many times over as reflected in their bids. Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the proposal from GSI to perform geotechnical investigation for the 159th Street sewer project to serve the new Meadowlark Elementary School at 159th and 13th Street.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by, who did that, Brian? To approve the the geotechnical investigation contract as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, Yorktown Parkway Project Phase 1. Looking at a change order?
Over the course of the last couple of months, we have aggregated some change orders for the project, some in advance of the work, one post-construction. The first item is a constructability item that allows the contractor to slip form a uniform width from end of project to end of project. It changes the way some of the turn lanes are reinforced concrete, adds a little bit of cost to the project. The second item is to add some conduit before the pavement is constructed in order to provide for Westar to make their road crossings without having to bore under our brand new road. The third item there is a change in storm sewer pipe configuration at US 54 to eliminate some underground conflicts. The fourth item is a change to add an additional electrical connection box in order to move those connections up out of the US 54 roadside drainage ditch to keep those connections high and dry. And the last change is requested by the property owner to convert one of our raised top inlets to a flat top inlet with a grate in order to fill around the area and make it easier for mowing.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the change order number 1 for the Yorktown Parkway project as presented.
Second.
Motion by CR and a second by Greg to approve the Yorktown Parkway Project Phase 1 change orders, right? There's two or just one?
One.
Just one. I thought there was two.
2 change orders?
I believe so. And that's what you said, right?
They're numbered
No,
1
I
and
will
2.
amend my motion to
One and
change order 1 and 2.
Correct.
You amend your second?
Second. I'm in my second.
All right, we have an amended motion to approve the change orders 1 and 2 for the Yorktown Parkway Project Phase 1. Further discussion?
I may be a little out of line here with this, but today we received an email and I saw it late and it
You
was
didn't respond, right?
No, I did not respond. I saw it late and I surely did not want to respond without full knowledge.
I think we all received it.
Okay, so does that affect, is that part of any of this, or is that something that can be addressed still later?
I
if we move-
think the time for that type of input was about 6 months ago.
Okay, so it is passed,
We're in
okay.
final phase and we're in construction.
Okay.
It's not gonna
So
happen.
you, staff saw that as well, then that went to
I don't
everybody?
know. I think she was talking about the entrance of Paul Revere
Yeah.
and
they wanted it-
Yorktown being a fully functioning intersection.
Okay, so that was something that we had talked about
Which
earlier, I thought.
we considered that, and then it still could happen in the future, I think is where we left that.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I read from that email as well,
But
but
it's
I
not
just.
happening with this
It's
initial
not happening
construction.
with this
no.
initial construction. Okay, very good. I
This
just wanted to
project's
make sure
been
I
bid
knew.
and let and final designed a long time ago, so.
All right, thank you.
So, do we vote on that?
No.
That's for change orders 1 and 2. Motion by CR, second by Greg. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, small cell installation standards. This is an ordinance based on a recap of information we heard last night at our workshop. I saw some pictures up there. I don't know what he's flicking to, but would you like to add any? Huh? Would you like to add any? That's not it. Yeah. Would you like to add any comments?
No, I think we discussed it last night, and you all understand that we're under a deadline to have these standards adopted before April 14th. We think that they're an appropriate move to preserve the aesthetics of our city.
Mr. Mayor?
Carolyn.
I move to approve a resolution adopting standards for small cell installations as provided for in the Code of the City of Andover, Kansas, Chapter 17, Article 1, Right-of-Way Management.
Second it.
All right, motion by Caroline. I'm sorry here.
Say what, Mike?
What? I know his name.
Oh, sorry.
I was writing it on the wrong line. Motion by Caroline, second by Mike to include, approve the resolution regarding small cell installation standards as presented. Further discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
One.
just like to point out for those that don't know what the small cell, or why we're pushing this tonight, it's because the federal government made some changes or created a law that allowed cell phone carriers to put cell towers basically where they wanted, wherever they wanted, without having any authorization or franchise fees or anything including in your front yard. The only caveat, or the only way that we could combat that, was to come up with this ordinance, which is one that specifies aesthetics, locations, and that kind of thing, and it has to be done now, or else they'll have the ability to do that. I'm not saying that they would, but it is something that we had to do in order to make it. So I saw there were some people in the audience that I don't normally see, so I just want to make sure that you guys understood what this was about tonight. That's all.
Okay. So we have a motion by Caroline, a second by Mike.
Yes.
Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, Rural Water Number 5 Agreement.
You remember a few months ago, Vance Garwood came to the council and asked for a special agreement that would allow a piece of property that he owns at
It's way up north, right?
yes,
Okay.
about a mile north of 21st Street on the west side of Andover Road. This agreement would have to be signed by 4 parties: the city, Mr. Garwood, Rural Water District Number 5, and the city of Wichita, to allow the Rural Water 5 to serve an area that is technically in the service area of the city of Andover. You'll note there that we have asked that Mr. Garwood dedicate the minimum right-of-way per our subdivision regulations in order to provide that the Rural Water District line be located outside of any future improvements to 29th Street. We would start this signing, and then I'll circulate it around to the other parties.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the letter agreement between the City of Andover, the City of Wichita, Rural Water District Number 5, and the Garwood Trust, which allows an exception to the Andover Water Service area to allow Garwood to temporarily connect to RWD Number 5 until Andover Water Service is feasible.
Second.
Motion by Greg, second by Troy to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So, I'd like to say something. I know we're doing this for Mr. Garwood, and it's the right thing to do, but I'll be danged if Rural Water District Number 5 would never make an exception with us. So please remind them that now that they've set a precedent of making an exception of what's their territory and what's ours, we might ask them in the future to give up a portion of their territory. Tit for tat, right? That'll never happen. Item 15, Andover Road Bike Ped Project.
This is the typical agreement between the Kansas Department of Transportation and the City of Andover that establishes the relationship for the construction of the Andover Road Bike Ped Project between Central Avenue and US 54. This sets up not only the financial relationship of the 80-20 split of the construction and construction engineering, but establishes that KDOT is the administrator of the project.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Go on.
I've said this before, but is this a project where you paint a stripe down the road of Andover Road and by golly, you now have a bike path?
No, sir. This is a 10-foot wide concrete roadside bicycle pedestrian path, as is typical on almost all of the arterial roads within Andover.
So it's not part of the street proper?
Correct. That's a bike lane. This is a roadside path.
Which side are we
I'm
going
gonna
on?
hold you to that.
Yes, I wouldn't like to see that.
Absolutely, you and me both.
Okay.
Is that on the east or west side of Andover Road?
It's located on the east side of Andover Road.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the KDOT project agreement to the Andover Road Bike Pad Project, Central Avenue to US 54.
Second.
Motion by Greg, second by Brian to approve the agreement with KDOT as presented. Further discussion. One question, do we have sufficient right-of-way?
There may be
Probably
a couple of
several
right-of-way
pieces.
acquisitions. I'm aware of one that will definitely be acquiring some right-of-way.
And those
There
are
may be
included in the
others.
project costs? Are they anticipated?
Yes, those were anticipated in the budget for the project.
Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, the 4 Mile Creek project.
Again, you'll remember a few months ago, we discussed the solicitation of an engineering firm to help us out with a decision about the reuse of treated wastewater for irrigation at local golf courses. The engineering firm of Burns and McDonnell was selected for that project. They prepared a contract that breaks the work up into phases so that as data and decisions are made, so can a decision be made whether to continue this feasibility study if perhaps the project runs into a fatal flaw that just would make it infeasible.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the engineering services contract with Burns and McDonnell for feasibility analysis for providing treated wastewater for irrigation use at area golf courses and authorize the first phase of work, which is data and fatal flaw analysis
Second.
as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion by CR, second by Mike to approve the engineering contract as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We should be able to get through this page without a break, don't you think? All right, item 17, the Andover Municipal Golf Course.
Mr. Mayor, as you obviously know, the council president and yourself have been working with me to discuss the future of management of the Andover Municipal Course, or Cedar Pines. And we've had discussions with the current operators and a outside group who is considering purchasing our golf course. We haven't come to any resolution on that particular offer at this point, and our current operators are willing to extend their contract for 4 months under the same conditions that we adopted in 2013. And this will be an extension for that 4-month period, but I'm sure the council president, yourself, and I will continue to have discussions with both of these groups about what we're going to do in the long term for the golf course.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the amendment to the management agreement between Next Level LLC and the City of Andover for a 4-month term for the purpose of operating the golf course and authorizing the mayor to sign such an agreement.
Second.
Motion by CR and a second by Caroline to approve the amendment to this management agreement as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 18, recreational water right.
Mr. Mayor and Council, in 2017, we identified a well, the well behind Lake George we have back there has a recreational water right, which means we can pump water out and onto or into the Lake George, and that's the only purpose we can use it for. We can't use it for irrigation or any other purposes. In 2017, we identified that the well had some issues, some electrical issues and so forth, and in further investigating that, we realized that the pump was not working. We pulled the pump out, and many of you probably have noticed that at times that well goes into an artesian type effect and just goes out the top of the wellhead. During that time when the pump was out, it was bypassing any kind of check valve and it was discharging into the lake. When it was doing that, it was going across our water meter. In submitting our annual reports on the water meter usage, in 2018, we received notice of overpumping and penalty. We requested a informal hearing with Kansas Department of Water and Agriculture. We somewhat argued with them that we weren't pumping the water, but they stood fact that we got the water anyways, whether we pumped it or not. They were going to hold us to a fine. They understood our situation, and talking with them, we expressed we'd really like to be able to convert that to an irrigation well. And during our conversation, it came out that if we wanted to do that, we could do that, as long as we irrigated less than 2 acres. They also stated that if we were willing to do that and forfeit the recreational right, because we couldn't have both at the same time, and convert it to an irrigation well, that they would forfeit the $3,000 administrative penalty or whatever it is. I can't remember the term of it is. We have asked council to review it, the document, and they find no legal reason not to do it. And our recommendation is to authorize the mayor to sign the waiver of waiving the recreational rights and let us convert it to an irrigation well. If anyone has any other questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Could you repeat that?
Probably not.
Mr. Mayor,
Caroline.
Rick did call me and explained several of the items that are on here with the Public Works, and it sounded like a very good plan to proceed with, and based on that, I would authorize the mayor to sign the voluntary waiver of hearing and dismissal of water rights as proposed.
Second.
Motion by Caroline, second by Brian to authorize myself to sign the voluntary waiver of hearing and dismissal of water right as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public Works purchase. Who's handling that? Nice.
That's good.
That is a mock-up of a mile marker post that we would be putting along all of our pathways and so forth. It might be off the size just a little bit, but it's...
Thought we called that the Redbud Trail, bro.
Well, there's several trails, actually.
Okay.
So,
All right.
it's not just Redbud Trail. Yes,
Darn
there
it,
are
we
ones
gotta
that say
read
Redbud Trail, but the mock-up that was sent was the one for this trail that we got.
All
And
right.
then we went and sourced some material locally, and that's just a spray paint can paint job, so forgive the paint job.
Wow.
And then the material on there is material that the equipment purchase we're asking for makes this type of material is one of the things it does do, along with the finger post signs and the ability to do in all of our street signs and resurface our street signs so we don't have to buy complete new street signs. I've been pondering the need to create our own sign shop, which most cities do when they start to get a little bit bigger, because the cost of, well, in fact, the gentleman in that's selling us the sign, they also sell this material, but they won't sell it to us because we can buy it through 3M directly at half the cost that they sell it for. So as you can imagine, our cost in our self signs doing themselves goes down drastically. I also, in your packet, we started down this road because when the wayfinding project was kind of ending the final part of the engineering contract of it and the budget was coming down, we realized that we're going to have to find a more economical way of doing this than going out and getting sign companies to do this. The reason the sign companies charge so much, I found out today from the Grimco rep, is that they sell this material twice as much to the individual sign companies as we can buy direct, and then we can do it ourselves. Of course, we would internally eat the labor costs for all this project. I went through and did there's a spreadsheet in here that goes through a lot of the costs, but in essence, we feel like even buying the post, which we have to buy the post, and a lot of the other costs in there, but we could still end up somewhere around 12 or 13,000. The original estimate was around $148,000. So there's a substantial savings, even after we add in the 34,000 and it's almost $35,000 for the sign machine, the laminator that presses them onto the metal sheets, and the die cut machine that cuts it all out. We can also do a lot of other signs with this ourselves internally. There's a lot of materials that you can run through these machines. It is a latex printer, so the ink is a lot cheaper than their current system that we're using to make our own banners and so forth like that. So if anyone has any
Get the
questions.
basketball games on there?
No, no.
You can advertise for them, though.
Interesting. Can we print signs for other cities and charge them for it? Like Rose Hill and Benton, and is that not a thing? No.
You could do it, but then you're talking about probably having to create staffing on top of that. And what we're going to plan on using, a lot of this is going to go through our admin assistant right now. It's going to help us do a lot of the work. And you start adding other towns in, it's probably talking about adding positions.
It falls under other duties as assigned.
Well, this is actually really a very good cost-saving measure, but on top of that, it's the time that can be saved, because, again, some of the explanation of you find out you want something for some special event, and it might take 6 weeks to order that thing, but we have our own
dude will
shop
pay
and
for
they
itself many
can,
times over.
absolutely. So if everybody's ready, I would like to authorize the staff to purchase an HPL 365 printer, 55-inch professional-wide formal laminator, and graphic 54-inch plotter from Grimco Incorporated in the amount of $34,640.50.
Second.
Motion by Caroline, second by Troy, to approve the sign shop equipment proposals as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 20, pavement marking maintenance.
So, as most of our arterial and arterial streets get remarked through the process of pavement maintenance, except for our concrete streets do not receive as much or common repetitive pavement maintenance to them, so thus the pavement markings just get older and wear out. We've noticed that especially on the concrete sections of the intersections of
Rick,
20.
I'm going to stop you here
Yes.
a second. CR, I need you to handle this item. I'm going to step down. I do a lot of work for this company in my line of business, so I'm going to step down for this item. I didn't read this thoroughly, so go ahead.
Rick,
Okay.
let's try to make ourselves coherent this time.
Okay. So, when we acknowledged or understood and realized that we need to up our pavement marking maintenance on the concrete sections of the streets, on Andover Road and particularly 21st Central, around the US 54 intersection and south to the newest sections of road that were redone in the last few years. In particular, when we were looking at this and started looking at this, we tend to get a few comments or complaints about cloud and US 54 intersection of Andover Road, and particularly the northbound where the left lanes can be a little bit confusing. Some people drive through the left turn lane for cloud and think it's a queue line for the left turn lane for US 54, and it gets some people mad and upset and other things. So we did contract with Trans Systems to help us relay out the pavement markings in that area. We do feel like we have a plan that will better assist the motorists and remove some of the confusion on that project in that area. We did solicit 3 companies for this work. One solicited back a proposal of $47,676.17, which we do feel is a pretty good price for this work based on other projects that have happened in the area around recently. So I guess if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
How in the world are you going to pay for this?
This will come from our annual street maintenance rehab project. We typically budget $1 million for work, and it'll just come out off the top of that.
Very good.
Mr. President, I guess I would have a question. Rick, so we're redesigning it. So was it designed incorrectly the first time, or just why are we redesigning? I mean, I know why, but
well, I
why was it
suppose
designed right the first
upon
time?
reflecting upon it, it could, there maybe could be some improvements. I wouldn't want to say it was designed incorrectly, but as time goes and you see how the motorists are trying to navigate the area, we feel like there's maybe some way to add some pavement markings to help push the motorists into the correct lanes and clarify some of the misunderstanding of how they should traverse through that intersection.
I guess the reason I asked was because we spend a lot of money with them to design this for us right, and it sounds like it might not have been.
This was done, how long ago has this been, Les? I can't remember. It's been a while.
That project goes back to 2006. The geometry of the layout meets design guidelines, but practically people don't understand that as they cross that intersection, there's a slight deflection in their lane lines.
I would also add that the volume of traffic has increased, which has not made this any better. It's added to some of the confusion.
Okay, thank you. Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Troy,
I'll second it.
a second by Mike to approve the, how do you pronounce that name?
Sillison and Sons.
Sellison and Sons of Keachai, for the amount of $47,676.17. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
How you pronounce that city?
Sillison?
Somebody said the Shockers won their basketball game?
Oh,
Pronounced
somebody's recording
Sillison
it.
and Sons.
I was recording that. That's like telling them down the cage game.
For the record, that
Come on.
particular company owns a ton of trucks, and they're constantly wrecking them.
Oh.
So that's why I did it, and it's Sillison and Sons.
Sillison.
Sillison. We'll move on to item 21, closing of Central Park.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to keep this short because we've been here a long time. You guys know we're doing 3 summer concerts this year, and we typically close the park for those. In years past, we've closed it the night before, beginning at 5, but we've had several complaints from many citizens about needlessly closing the park. In years past, we felt we needed to have it closed on the night before, but we've improved significantly in the last year after having done 4 last year instead of just the 1. And for the last 2 events, we don't need to close the park on Friday because we can get everything done Saturday morning. And so I think just closing the park on Saturday will make a lot of citizens happier in terms of the dog park and being able to come into the park on Friday nights as well. And so for the first event, the Red Dirt Roundup on June 29th, that requires a little bit more production setup, so we still would like to close the park at 5 p.m. on Friday, but the other 2, 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. That gives some early risers who want to come out to enjoy the park pretty early a chance to do that too. And then we'll coordinate with the library at a later date to work on their hours because the library does get used pretty regularly on the Saturdays. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer those too.
Nice job.
Mr. Mayor,
Carolyn.
I move to approve the request to close Central Park at the time and dates presented.
Second.
Motion by Caroline, second by Brian to approve the closing of Central Park as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Move on to item 22, which is grant of public funds.
Mr. Mayor, a committee consisting of Council President Nelson and Council Member Schwan, myself, and the city clerk considered applications for our grant program, and the recommendation in front of you is $9,000 worth of grant as follows. The Family Life Center Safe House in El Dorado, $500. Sunlight Children's Advocacy and Rights Foundation, $2,500. The Andover Senior Center, $3,500. The Andover Augusta Rails to Trails Initiative, $500. The Andover Community Food Bank, $1,000. And Thrive Butler, $1,000. I'm sure the committee members would take questions about any of these programs, or the city clerk or myself would be glad to answer any also.
I would prefer to get an email.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move
Fine.
to approve the grant requests as recommended by the committee.
I'll second.
Motion by Caroline, second by CR to approve the Grant of Public Funds Committee recommendations. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 23. I have an appointment here, a new appointment to the Park Planning Committee. Nikki Huntington, and I would like you to approve that for me.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to authorize the filling the vacancy on the Park Planning Committee with the appointment of Nikki Huntington as requested.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by Greg to approve the appointment to the Park Planning Committee as recommended. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Were you going to say something about that? Okay. Okay, I believe we're down to member items, is that correct? Would you like to start us off, Brian?
I don't have anything.
Caroline.
I have nothing new. Thank you.
Troy.
Wow. Yeah, one thing, the chamber had its annual banquet dinner and awards ceremony this week. This last week. It was exceptional. The chamber continues to beat every type of goal that we set in growth. And everybody that's a member of the chamber that I've spoken with, all the businesses, they're just happy. They're doing so many things right now, and it's pretty exceptional. And at the banquet, we had one of the WSU coaches. I'm not sure what his role. I think he's a motivational coach for WSU. Shockers, what? Well, he's a character coach that's his job, right? That's his business, right? Does he also do that for them? Anyway, I'm not gonna, do his little thing, but he was pretty exceptional to listen to, and yeah, very motivational. And
Are you taking notes
it was
here,
nice.
CR?
CR was doing it. He was like,
Need his number?
the whole time. It was.
You want his number? We can get it for you.
I tell you what, that guy was impressive to no end. I was shocked at how effective he was.
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
That's fine.
I'm amazed.
Very good. That's all I had for tonight.
The only other thing is that we're going to reopen the bidding of one of the live auction items. No, I'm just kidding about that. I have no other items.
Did you lose or win?
Well, both.
Sometimes winning is losing.
That-
Greg.
I don't have anything.
Yes, I do. While I was sitting here, I got a text from my son, who's playing in Emporia tonight, and they won the championship in the 5A tennis tournament tonight.
Wow.
So, I know.
Yeah.
That's it.
Staff have anything else? Are we sure?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by Troy. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.